Welcome to happy hour, everyone.
Woohoo! Happy hour. I have water this today. It's pretty boring, but
I did too.
I'm not drinking the whole month of January. I don't know how many other people are doing that, but no alcohol the whole month.
Is that right? I should be on a cleanse.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, from desserts.
Tell us what's up for today.
Oh my gosh. So we have a great show. It's David and Chip. They are our special guests, and we're super excited. Again, here we started this. I think our first show was in April. And I remember maybe I was getting a call. It was David. Hey, what do you think about this happy hour idea? And we thought, okay, we'll do 3 episodes and kind of see how things go. And I am so excited to say that this is our 18th episode. And without you guys showing up every week or every couple of weeks, I don't know, we wouldn't have had as much fun. But we want to welcome you tonight. We're going to have David and Chip kind of banter back and forth for the first 30 minutes. If you saw in the notes, we're going to do insights and reflections on 2020. We're going to talk about some of the memorable highlights from the season. And then finally, what they're most excited about for 2021. And then while they're speaking, I would encourage everyone to think about what were your insights and reflections for 2020? What were the memorable highlights for you on the show? Because the back half of the 30 minutes, we're going to open it up and share your feedback. And since this is our last episode, we're going to open it up. You can ask Chip and David anything, and they agreed to it.
Wow.
Anything. You don't mind, do you?
Scary. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, David, it's great to see you. You are in Salt Lake City. I am in Baja, but a different backdrop. For those who don't know it, I'm in the MEA classroom here, and all of those people
on that wall, because now he's frozen.
Because that's okay. Internet in Baja.
He'll be back. I think what he's pointing out on the back wall are all the photographs taken. So each cohort at the end of the week, there is anywhere from 15 to 20 people, and each cohort or group that graduates through takes a picture. It's a graduation picture. So that's everyone on the back there. So David, I'm sure he'll come in.
Excellent. So let's talk about memorable moments from the last year. By the way, I'm in the Hyatt Suites Hotel in Salt Lake City, a very anonymous place, but quite comfortable. I've been traveling since the beginning of March, and I can just tell you that nomadism may sound like really charming. After a while, it's like I just want like a place, so that I actually get a permanent place in a week. So.
And you're going to come back here, and I'm going to drive you home? How long? How long?
Driving me home. Interesting.
Wait.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't on mute. I'm turning it off. Bye.
That was great. That was so good.
I love about happy hour. So
that was great.
So let's Laura, let's you and I reviews like so the last we did this is 18, is that right?
This is 18.
It is 17 of these. And so we've had such amazing guests on, and what I thought was initially interesting was how many of them came on in some altered state of consciousness.
What was that guy's name? The one that lives out here in LA. He was like our second or third.
Yeah, Paul Hynek.
Paul Hynek,
the world's foremost expert on aliens. His father was Dr. Alan Hynek, Project Blue Book, and Paul came on after taking psilocybin.
Yes.
Which he was a little more bent than usual, but I didn't really notice anything until he said, like, "Oh yeah, I was tripping on psilocybin."
It was so funny. Yeah.
And I think
Interesting guy, though. Like, how do you go from being a CFO in one moment to, you know?
Well, he's a genius. So, he's my CFO. He's an MBA instructor at Pepperdine. He's like the alien stuff. He's radical life extension. And clearly, I think he might have mentioned like he's really into taking DMT, which is an incredibly powerful hallucinogen, so that he could speak to aliens.
Yes.
So, all this stuff is on the YouTube channel, and you can listen to Paul talk about how if you talk to an alien, what they say back, and they do speak back. So,
it would take DMT to open up those neuropaths, if you will. Oh my God.
You guys have moved. I'm sorry that I dropped off.
It's okay.
That's the state of sometimes Wi-Fi down here. So you've already moved on to talking about interesting people who with us.
We started there. We skipped over insights and reflections. I have none. No, I'm kidding.
Well, let's talk. So I think if there's an insight I have and a reflection is this, resilience and adaptability. I think that's the story for me, at least, how this year's gone, how MEA has gone, how Airbnb has gone, a company that I have some involvement with. It's like, how do you adapt, have enough resilience to get to the place where you can adapt? Sometimes they're like two steps. You got to be resilient enough to just stick around, and then you have to adapt potentially. And I don't know, for me, that feels like a really profound lesson for the year. I would say another one for me is spying on the divine. What do I mean by that? I'm one of those people who actually fills my calendar, and if I have a full calendar, I feel worthwhile and worthy, and it's just a terrible mindset. And so during COVID, I decided to put 3 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, in the afternoon on my calendar as spying on the divine. And I went with my dog just into nature to just observe nature. And I got to tell you, I would come back from those 3 hours more inspired, more revitalized, and more, frankly, creative. And I would go to my computer and then start writing. And so that was another lesson of mine. I don't know, David, do you have any reflections, insights for you for this year?
Well, I read a lot this year. I read 40 books this year. I never read that much.
Wow.
One of the books that I read was called Forest Bathing, which is very much like what you're talking about. And they talk about it. And for the people out there, like the premise is you don't need super awesome nature. Like average nature works. So like art works. You don't need like the Alps and, the ocean and stuff. I find that it's interesting what you're saying about adaptability and resilience. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that we are incredibly adaptable and incredibly resilient in a way that I really hadn't. I've just been nomadic since March, and I realized that where I was didn't matter that much. It just didn't really matter. It was just like, can I plug everything in? Okay, my wife's here. I got my food. Okay, I'm cool. I'm in this anonymous hotel room now. I've been in a lot of other sort of short stay places, and you just kind of tune them out. It's like, okay, whatever, I'm here. I think that I also want to say, like, remember when we had Jonathan Mendenhall on, which was just after the episode with Trump gassing the protesters and the Bible thing, and everybody was shook after that one. And, now it's kind of going on again. And I think like, oh, wow. I don't know, like it's kind of ongoing. And we think like, how much of this can we take? How much can we adapt to? How much stress? And I think that this idea, fundamentally, this idea that the difficulty of making plans. So COVID and all this stuff that's going on, and being able to not know where you're going to go, where you're going to be, can you see whoever, can you not make plans, is something that I think it's sort of a muscle like we've all developed in the last year that we don't really like it. but it's like, okay, I guess that's just the way it is. You know, like I'm supposed to be in Baja with you right now. And
yeah. Yeah, we were going to do a week on how to be vivid and vital. Well, actually, let's talk about that for a minute. How can you be vivid and vital, David?
All right. So I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but it's essentially owning your greatness. And that sounds sort of like really demented in a huge way, but it's really about.
I think that's what the president has been saying for 4 years now, but let's keep going.
Well, he's a sociopath, but for a normal person, what I mean by owning your greatness is to own the greatness that you are. Like you're only one Chip, and you're the greatest version of Chip that you're
Thank
awesome
God.
as Chip,
Thank
right?
God. Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think that it's so often we drop the bar because we're scared of taking responsibility, essentially, of who we are, of how amazing we are and the amazing things we can do, because it's just easier to drop the bar, right? If you go further, you're taking responsibility for who you are and for your ambitions and for your dreams and what you can do. And that's a scary thing. And so
how did you do that this year? So how did you last year, how in 2020 did you raise the bar? In what way did you raise the bar in terms of your greatness or your ability to step up?
I mean, one of the things I realized is that I'm a pretty good communicator. I never knew that. Like people will tell me, you know, all of us, people tell us things, Chip, it's like, oh, you're good at this, you're good at that. And you think, oh no, I can't do that. Like, oh, I shouldn't do that because I'm going to fail, or I can't learn to do that.
Fixed versus growth mindset, Carol Dweck's work. Note. Yes.
Right. Well, it's that acknowledging that we can do. I studied martial arts for a long time, and my teacher was always like, "You're so much stronger than you think you are," because if we think we're less and we claim that we're less, the bar's lower. Right? We don't have to go further. We don't have to take those extra risks because nobody's going to like shame us or say anything. You know, they're just like, oh, okay, I can't do that, or I shouldn't go there. But if we say, I can do that, I'm going to do that, watch me do that.
So let me give a couple examples then in this fixed versus growth mindset. So a fixed mindset, you have a tendency to want to prove yourself and you only play games you can win. In a growth mindset, you want to improve yourself and you define success as not winning, but learning. So I'm going to give you 3 quick examples. I needed to learn Spanish. I grew up learning French. That's how I ended up calling my company Joie de Vivre in my mid-20s when I started a boutique hotel company. So I live in Mexico most of the time, and I didn't know Spanish. And so I finally just said, listen, I'm now 60. At age 70, I will regret if I didn't learn Spanish now. But what I wanted to do is like, how can I learn Spanish and have fun? Because the mindset was, I'm too old to learn Spanish. That's the mindset, which actually inhibits me from learning Spanish. Exactly. And then I saw this TED talk by a polyglot, this woman who learned 8 languages. And she said, it's just about having fun. Just go have fun. If you have fun, you'll be less judgmental of yourself. And so I do 3 Spanish classes a week in Todos Santos with Yvonne, my teacher, and we have the best time. We talk dirty in Spanish and have just a great time talking dirty. And we don't just do that. Okay, second one, yoga. So I am not a particularly limber person. Upwardly, what did I say today? Upwardly bound and tightly wound. That's me. And so I also know the trigger for me of not liking yoga is comparing myself with everybody else in the room.
Right.
I love to meditate. But in meditation, you're not comparing. Your eyes are closed in most meditations. So when it's in yoga, so I realized I could learn how to do yoga one-on-one. Teddy, our great teacher here at MEA, could just do one-on-one sessions with me in a private place. And I came to love yoga after many years of just hating it because I was always comparing. Now, my challenging one where I still have a fixed mindset is surfing. Now, I started learning how to surf at age 57. And surfing, if you're somebody who looking stupid, which is those people, I I could do one-on-one yoga classes, but when it comes to surfing, you really can't do one-on-one surfing classes. There's not your own beach you can go to and say, oh, let's just go there. Instead, what you have is you have all these people in the sand, almost like in the stands, watching you and pointing at you as you flail. And so I still have a hard time with surfing, and it's also sort of slightly dangerous at 60. But I'm gonna in 2021. It's one of my things I'm gonna re-up in terms of my learning.
I learned to surf at 50.
Wow.
And it took me a long time. I've done a lot of things. Surfing is the single hardest thing I've ever learned to do. It's the only way to do it is you have to do it almost daily so that you understand the rhythm of the ocean, and it's a weird set of muscles that like you only use surfing. So, but after I mean, just to give you encouragement at 50,
are you still doing it?
Well, I'm in Utah, so I don't, but I could.
Okay.
If you, I remember when I think I was like 55 or 56, and I was in Honolulu, and I had some people come up to me. I was out in the lineup, and they were like, "How can I learn to surf like you?" And I didn't think I surfed that well, but I could surf well enough so that they thought that I was like awesome. So, but I'm just letting you know, like
you're always better than someone else. I guess that's still like the mindset of like comparing and contrasting.
But it's what I want to say is I didn't think I was that good. Like I thought I was still flailing and slopping around. But that was just me thinking like the old tape, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on to this question of like some of our favorite episodes of the year. I actually wrote down a few here. We did have 2 of our first 8 sessions. We had people on mind-altering substances, and I don't mean alcohol. That was weird and not planned. That was crazy. Barbara Vicar, she deserves an Oscar for the fact that this is the CEO of Kripalu, who was scheduled to be our guest about 4 days after George Floyd was killed, murdered, whatever you want to call it. She was like, no way am I going on your show, guys. This, I don't want some white woman talking about, a yoga retreat center, the largest yoga retreat center in the U.S. And she was right, and we were right in going out and getting 4 MEA alums, all African Americans, to come on and tell their story. And that was a powerful session. I really enjoyed that one. To just listen, it was more listening than anything. And another one that I would say, I just love Michael Franti. He's one of my closest friends. To have him and his wife come on and actually play some music on our show, oh man, that was great. What about you, David?
BJ Fogg. Shows up with like.
First of all, he has the most impressive name I've ever heard of. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm like a 14-year-old boy right now, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's a behavioral scientist. And so he wrote a book called Tiny Habits. And for anybody who wants to know how to change behavior or integrate a behavior into your life, he's the guy who just like follow his thing and it works. But he was just like, he was hysterical. And he showed up with like the props and the board and the whole, and he's super dynamic, right? So he's like, oh yeah, we got to do this and that. Hysterical guy. Loved him.
It was the BJ Fogg show for sure.
Yeah.
What else? And Laura, you loved him too.
Oh my God. I mean, who has a Zoom room? And then he was pretending to walk down the stairs he was hysterical. And he was like almost late. That was the other thing, right? David?
He was in the flow. He was late, actually.
He was late.
He was doing something else in the flow, and he was not on a mind-altering substance. He's a good Mormon boy. So, David, what about another one?
I thought Jonathan Mendenhall
powerful.
Was super interesting.
Former CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of Airbnb.
Yeah.
African, born in England, of African descent, and
right. And I think we did that. That was in June when there were all the protests happening, as I recall.
Yeah. exactly.
So that was really powerful. I mean,
How about Norma Kamali? Come on, she was so good in December.
Well, Norma's just, Norma's my bud, and she's awesome. She's 76. She met her soon-to-be husband, I think, at 68.
Yeah.
They're about, yeah.
She looks so good. I mean, she just, I don't know. But more importantly, it isn't so much the look. She just has that energy. There's something radiating from her, and I want some of what she's got.
She's super open, right?
Yeah.
Because like her business is, the Karl Lagerfeld described being a fashion designer as having an antenna, and you just got to pick up everything, and then you kind of distill it to fashion. And so, she's like one of those people. She's like super open to all this stuff going on, whatever it is. And I find that like people have this idea that as people get older, they close down, and they can because they get scared.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not scared. So she's just like, everything, bring it in. I want more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was impressed with her because when you think about being a fashion designer, New York City back in the 70s, I mean, that was sex, drugs, rock and roll, Studio 54, that whole fashion industry, and how she just maintained composure, her business, her branding, everything is steady. And it continues and just continues. I'm excited to read her book. I'm invincible. I mean, that manifesto and having the words up on the wall, that was super impressive.
Yeah. So you guys put in the Danny Meyer. Someone just puts in Danny Meyer. Yes, Danny Meyer. Yes. What a just a heart of gold he has. He's such a great role model for service and hospitality. Yeah, it's been a great season of 18 different shows, 16 of them. The first and the last is just us, and then the other 16 we had guests every week. So let's actually look forward to this next year, David. What do you look forward to? What's exciting to you about the coming year or this year?
A calendar that I can count on.
Wait, you didn't like the leap year? I mean, actually, it was a leap year, right? I'm sure we can make a joke out of that. That's a really bad joke, but I've already made some bad jokes. So you guys come back for my bad jokes. That's a bad sign for you. But what do you can count on? What can you count on this year?
Airplanes, going places, restaurants. My God, like the gym. There's the little kind of like day-to-day things like, oh, you want to go to dinner tonight at wherever? Okay, we can do that. Or, geez, I want to let's plan on going to Japan next year. You can do that now, right? Because, by next year, vaccine and whatever.
When you say next year, you mean 2022 or do you mean 2021?
I'm starting to make plans for summer 2021.
Yeah, well, you could go to Japan. You could go to the Olympics if you wanted to. I don't know if you'd want to, but
I don't know if the Japanese would. I don't know. We'll see if that's going to go on. But
they'll do it. They'll do it. I just don't know if they'll have many people there. So we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what else. And you guys, thank you, Laura, for putting all this in the chat. So you guys can tell us what you're excited about. Do you mind if I jump in with what I'm excited about, David?
Please. What are you excited about?
You know what? I'm excited about having wisdom, empathy, and diversity in our politics again. I sure hope so. I hope that this week has been this moment, this watershed moment. Regardless of what your politics are, I appreciate that there's a lot of conservatives and Republicans who have come out and just said, this is nuts. And maybe the guy who was in the White House has been nuts. And so I'm looking, leaders are the emotional thermostats of those they lead. You say that again. Leaders are the emotional thermostats of those they lead. They set the temperature in the room for everybody. And the temperature in the room the last 4 years, and maybe longer, the temperature in the room has been way too high. And I just want to, I was not a big Joe Biden fan, to be honest with you, but man, do we need a little healing right now? And there's this, you've probably all seen that graphic out there. I think it's maybe Shepard Fairey's work or something that says hope for Obama, and then hate for Trump, and then heal for Biden. And whatever your politics, I just want to say we could use some healing now. And so I'm looking forward to a political discourse in Washington that may have some across the aisle congeniality and some, we used to learn civics, and civics was politics, and politics hasn't been very civic lately. So that's one thing. Second thing I'm looking forward to is something I'm just going to say to you. I'm whispering it confidentially. Some of you already know this, but a lot of you don't. At 4:40 tomorrow morning, I take a van to the airport, and I have a 7 o'clock flight here in Los Cabos, an hour from where MEA is, to go somewhere where we are closing escrow on a big ranch that will be our first MEA regenerative community. Our first one out in the United States. And it's going to be, a regenerative farm in the center, and then an MEA campus where we can do 2 workshops simultaneously, but autonomously apart from each other. Huge ranch full of other great stuff. And then a little village, clubhouse in a village of people who want to live there, and people can actually go and do sabbaticals there. So I'm really excited to create something in the United States that's just 3 steps beyond what we've done here in Mexico. And I don't know, I think it's time that we focus on regeneration. Sun City was in 1959, 1960 was the place that defined retirement communities for the 20th century. And I don't know, let's see how many people will raise their hand. How many of you want to live in a retirement community someday? Yeah, not anybody. So the retirement community industry, senior living industry is just totally in a challenging place because they don't really know what to do next. And I want MEA to be to the 21st century what Sun City was to the 20th century in terms of retirement communities. This is going to be a regenerative community, intergenerational, regenerating the soil, regenerating your soul, regenerating your sense of community by the connection that you have with the other people there, and then regenerating the locale in which we're located. So I'm so excited about that. I'm 60 years old, and I feel like a little 12-year-old who just discovered the thing I wanted to do when I grow up. Okay, I'm sorry, that was a little too much.
No, it wasn't. The chat box is all fired up. Everyone wants to move there.
Okay.
No, it's not too much. Everyone wants to know where, when, how, and how quickly.
I'm going to be quiet about it for now. I mean, someone in the chat will probably say, because some of you know, but it won't open for another couple of years because we have to get our approvals of what we want to do and design and build it. But 2023, it will be up and operating probably. And we'll have multiple locations in the future. So, but we got Baja for right now, and it's been fun. I will tell you, sabbatical sessions where people come and do extended stays here. Oh my gosh. We have had so many people say, I'm coming for 2 weeks, which is our minimum amount of time they can come. And then they actually extend to 4, 6. We have a couple from Ottawa, Canada here right now who have extended to 10 weeks. So people just say, listen, I just want to, I don't want to leave. So that's been exciting too. So that was enough. David, back to you. What else are you excited about?
I'm excited about your project. I think that, I think this is fascinating. I mean, I have a lot of contacts in that industry, and everybody knows it needs to be reinvented, and you're doing it. So
yeah, fantastic. It's fun. So how about Ageist? What do you have in plans for Ageist in 2021?
Oh, more. I mean, our growth rate is like we sort of a little more than double year over year. And without really trying, Ageist is like, the only way you know about it is like Fight Club. It's like the only way you know about it is somebody tells you about it. We don't really put the word out there, but this year, I think that's going to happen. We have Strage, which is at the moment just a podcast, but that's moving into something much bigger. We have really grand plans for that. So that's exciting. And I think, for me, a lot of the, you and I discussed this a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco, that really it was, I love, the growth mindset, right? It's like, I wasn't quite sure. I mean, I've had this idea, people have come to me about doing this thing. And it's just like, well, I don't know if I can do that. And I realized I don't have to believe that I can do it now, because by the time I'm actually doing it, I'm doing it, It's okay. It's going to work out.
You take one step at a time. Actually, let's talk about and then we'll talk about this, and then we'll open it up to the audience, to our community. So David was in San Francisco. I happened to have to go to San Francisco for Christmas time to see family, do some medical testing, and do a recording of something. And so David and I went for a long walk. And what a beautiful walk. We got to walk and talk, and we ended up walking up the Filbert Steps in San Francisco on the east side of Telegraph Hill. So gorgeous. So it just, most people in San Francisco who live there don't even know it exists. It's a bunch of old sort of shacks from the from the gold rush, just beyond, gold rush and a little bit later. And we ended up at the top of the hill, marveling at Coit Tower and the view from there. So as quiet as San Francisco is these days, and it is pretty quiet, it was really nice to go on that walk with you, David.
It was lovely for you to share to share your time with me, and we had a great chat. And then you showed me this part of San Francisco I never knew. I mean, if for anyone who doesn't know about it, it's like shacks is the right word. And they're sort of like on the side of this cliff. And it's a pretty healthy hike up to the top of there. And it's like Hobbit land in there. I never thought, like, what is this?
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so, and actually we were there in the winter where it's not quite as robust in terms of just all of the greenery. But why don't we open this up? And Laura, you and Anne-Marie, help us to know who's up and how they're going to ask the question. Actually, can we try this time to have people just talk directly as opposed to us asking their questions? Is that okay?
That would be so amazing. If
we're taking the risk that someone's going to go on and on and on. So if you go on and on and on, David or I will step in and say, you're going on and on and on. Stop. So don't do that. Okay. Go for it. Laura, call on me. Whatever.
So maybe what we'll do is we're going to ask insights and reflections from 2020. What we'll do is punch into the chat box, and then I'll call your name out and you can share with us. Just unmute yourself. Do you want to share an insight or a reflection? So I'll just start picking on people. I'm just going to pick on people. Don't get angry with me, but I'm going to make sure everybody's paying attention. So when I call out your name, unmute yourself. Kara Hugglestone.
Oh, wow.
Can you share an insight and reflection from 2020?
Unmute.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Well, just like the importance of community with regard to, how people behave. And thank goodness that we have like these wonderful electronic ways to connect, and learning different skills for communicating this way. And sort of like David, I think I also got an appreciation for nature, spending more time and Chip too. Like Chip, you with your spying on the divine. Yeah, spending time in nature. It was, it was really helpful and grounding. And I think that it really does help with creativity and that sort of thing. But just the importance of connection and new ways of doing it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anita Baker.
Hi. I don't know. It was a really interesting year, I think. There were all of these horrible, horrible things. And then there were some really, I mean, for an overused term, silver lining. So it really made me think about the duality, you know, of things, that when you look at something, there's another side, you know, to it, you know, if you look for it, you know, things are inherent, you know, in each other. I think, I don't know, I just found that like I deepened connection with a lot of different communities, and the communities that really mattered and that really mattered to my heart. And that, I don't know, I just was very conscious of like making space inside to connect with myself differently, to process things, and to open, you know, up. I don't know, I found certain things, like I took a photography class. Sara actually was in the same one. It was a pilot, you know, course. It was phenomenal, you know, and I loved it. And taking my camera, you know, my phone with me with my camera, you know, allowed me to connect and enjoy my alone time. So I think that's, you know, part of it. I think the reflection, and I think the importance of kindness, you know, kindness and vulnerability and genuine caring, and the importance of saying hello to someone in the grocery store, thanking them, you know, all those little acts of kindness that really add up, I think. So those are my reflections.
Thank you. I see Rob Angel's here with us, a special guest.
Wow.
Rob, are you there? He may not.
There's, who knows if he's here.
All right.
I'm here.
You are here.
Well, I can't get my video started.
That's okay. What is one of your reflections from 2020? What did you learn?
I learned to slow down. I was living a rather frenetic, fun, engaging, energetic life, but it was wearing me down. It wasn't for a purpose. I was having a ball, make no mistake. But when COVID hit, I was forced to just slow down. And it did take me a little while to get into the groove. And then I slowed down, and guess what I did? Of course, I ramped back up again. And so that didn't work out as well. So I've just learned to relax and not be so much into my head and just let things happen. And it's been wonderful. And I'm starting some new things, but I'm starting them on my terms, my time, with an open heart and an open mind and an open brain, rather than forcing.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for sharing with us.
Anybody have a burning desire? Just raise your hand if you want to share on this one, on the 2020.
I do.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ilsa, and I want to share. Living through 2020 with sobriety, and today I celebrated 4 years of sobriety, and the gift that I've learned through I follow the 12 Steps program, which lets you release yourself, and the importance of the serenity prayer. God, grant me, the higher power, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And at the end of the day, I really can only change me. And so all this chatter is out there. And if I change myself and my actions and the way I approach life, that emanates, and that creates an energy that flows. And that's a gift. And I'm so happy to be sober throughout this entire this world that we're going through, because I'm aware and I have spirituality, and I'm grateful, and that's super cool. So I just wanted to, share the importance of serenity and the serenity prayer.
Yes, Reinhold Niebuhr, very, very famous. Love it. Thank you. He came to happy hour, and we're getting you all sober, guys.
The thing is, it's fantastic and it's fun. I mean, that's the thing that's so amazing is life is so, bad things happen, but life is so rich. And I'm a funny person, so I'm laughing all the time. And so I'll pass now, as we say in the program, I'll pass. But you know what? Life is good. Life is funny. Enjoy. When you find it so many places.
Life deepens when you're sober, that's for sure. Let's see what other people's reflections are. Laura, let's go to the next one.
Next person or next topic?
Next topic.
Next topic. Let's go to memorable highlights. I mean, there were so many more. Anyone want to jump in with a memorable highlight? If anyone wants to say anything about Rob, who was one of our special guests.
Yeah.
I remember you called in from like a virtual Burning Man or something. That was amazing.
Where were you, Rob?
Sorry?
San Diego.
Oh, you're in San Diego. Oh, but that's right. It was a virtual Burning Man. It was, yes, exactly.
Just a couple of friends and a lot of your guests. They weren't the only one that was on psilocybin during their talk.
Oh my gosh. And then that actually spurred the conversation. We had Marion, is it Goodall? Good.
Oh, Marion Goodell. Yeah, the CEO of Burning Man.
Yeah, she just celebrated like her 26th or 27th anniversary there. Anyone else?
Who else? Anybody get an inspiration from somebody who was on the show?
Pam, go on ahead.
I just wanted to say that the inspiration actually is you guys, Modern Elder, for putting this together, to bringing this kind of ragtag community from wherever to be engaged, to be thoughtful, to communicate through you and through our special guests. And I have to say that I'm just a wee bit sad that this is the last. But a lot of the conversations were really very inspiring for me. So that the whole thing is actually, from my perspective, the most memorable moment that we were able to come together like this and just be a community at a time when we probably needed it most. And for the future, I'd love to see more intergenerational stuff happening like this, because I think that's where the magic happens. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was.
Thank you.
Super thoughtful.
Kara just asked, why is this the last happy hour? We'll just say a quick thing on that. It's the end of our season. Let's say that. This is 18. For a thing that we were going to do for 3 sessions, to go for 18 sessions is a lot. And I think there was an element that we wanted to provide something that did create a sense of community in a very traumatized time where we all felt very disconnected. I think as we move into 2021, we just feel like, okay, there's other means of doing that. And there's other ways to try to accomplish that. Maybe it's not on Zoom. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's some other way. And for those who definitely check out David's Super Ager podcast, which has become really, really popular. And you actually had me as a guest recently.
Talking about curiosity.
Yes, exactly. So you'll get to see us on that podcast. So what else? Anybody else?
So Denise Wallace put in the chat box, I guess she was unable to unmute, but the woman who wrote Soulbbatical, which is Shelley Paxton, that was super, that was inspiring. She had such an energy about her.
She was the former CMO, Chief Marketing Officer of Harley-Davidson. She was down here for a month at the sabbatical sessions, and we've been giving her book away, Soulbbatical, to all of our guests. Yeah, she's a hard ass driven, like, I'm going to go do it. And then she realized that she had to soften, and she realized that she had spent almost no moments in her life understanding what her soul was. And she did not grow up with soul talk at all. This was not her thing, for sure. Very Midwestern upbringing. And it reminds me of this guy Carl Jung, who a psychologist, who said your primary operating system up until about age 45 or 50 is your ego, and after that your primary operating system is your soul. But we have very little language and very little in the way of schools, tools, or rituals to help people to understand they're supposed to change their operating system around that time. And sometimes the world shakes you up with midlife crises and all kinds of things to wake you up to the fact that you're supposed to change your operating system right now. And I hope that people are realizing that more and more. It's not just the new age crazy types like me who actually believe in this stuff, but actually it is a real thing that you actually shift into a different space around 45 or 50. And so, I don't know, David. You're older than me. David's 62 years old, and he's like so damn fit and good looking, and he doesn't drink at all, and he's, I don't know. To hell with you.
Well, there's no limit to emotional immaturity. You can carry that for a really long time, and it seems to work.
All right.
Crisis moments. You talked about crisis moments, and that being the catalyst for change, and that happening in your 40s. I was talking to a friend today about that, and I think we have crisis moments all along the way, even in our 20s and 30s, but there's something in that operating system that we're not ready to pay attention to it. Even though it might knock us to our knees, our reaction and response to it is dust ourselves off and just keep going. And you keep going right into the next crisis. So it's almost like the crises aren't coming in our 40s and 50s. They've been happening all along. I think.
That's true.
Yeah.
One of the things to learn is just that any kind of transition that's going to happen in your life has 3 phases to it. And there's this, the initial phase is ending something. And a lot of us are not good at that. And so we just get stuck there. But you got to end something. And then there's this messy middle, what's called the liminal period, when you're in limbo and it's awkward. And especially if you're a midlifer and if you're like, I don't know, I feel so lost. And I'm an adult. Why is that? But that's like the cocoon. Mm-hmm. It's the caterpillar and the cocoon, and on the other side of the cocoon is a butterfly, and that's when you start the new beginning. And I've just basically described the hero's journey according to Joseph Campbell, as well as the work of Arnold van Gennep, who 110 years ago studied religious pilgrimages and rites of passage. And so bottom line is, you know what? We have not changed as humans, but if we can understand the patterns of what's happening in our life, we can be a lot more conscious about how we move through that cocoon period as quickly as possible.
I think that, somebody told me something that changed my life when I was about, I don't know, it was like 35 years ago or something. And they told me this really interesting thing. They said, if you want to get in the chair across the room, you got to get out of the chair you're in. Mm. And for so much of us, I know, I'll just talk about me. My self-identity, my self-worth is tied up in a lot of stuff that I think I am. But if I want to do this other thing, I got to let this go. And that's really hard.
What did you have to let go? What did you have to let go to do Ageist?
I had to let go of the idea that my best and highest worth in the world was being a photographer. I had to let go of that because the amount of pictures I take at Ageist, I take like 2% of them. But I do all this other stuff. So I had to let go of that to make space of this other stuff. And that was my self-identity. That was the thing I thought I was really, really good at. And I'm good at it, but I had to let that go. And I think that this idea, what we do, we do a lot of research here, and we see that what happens with people is they go through this sort of by their mid 40s or so, they have this sense of there's something out there. It's like a mountain in the dark. It's there. You don't quite know what it is, but there's something there. And then I mean, I've seen this like hundreds of times. People get in the 50s, early 50s, they'll start to take actions towards this thing and they won't even know what it is until suddenly they're sort of there and they're able to look at things in this sort of non-reactive way. They're off of they don't need to be on the career like train track. The voices of the parents have gotten mitigated. The kids are gone. So now they can reflect and say like, do I want to let this go? Is this, whatever this thing I'm doing, is that working for me? Or is there something that will work for me better? But that takes, I mean, at least with the people I've talked to, that takes some time. Like that, I don't see that happening with people who are 25 or 30. Like that, you got to put some experience in there.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, David. That was great. Well, Laura, should we maybe say what are people excited about for this next year?
Yes. If you want to pop in there, just put your hands up. And what are you looking forward to in 2021? Dave?
Yeah, I've been in Chip's MEA online program and have found that to be really exciting. And there's a follow-on program called Corazon, and I've signed up for that, and I'm looking forward to being in that program. And for those of you who I think are perhaps a little wistful about the end of this, and you're looking for a community, that is a community.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
And a really good one. So, and I'm not, and I want to make clear, I'm not getting any sort of commission from Chip.
No, and David, I've never met actually in person, have we, Dave? I think
a long time ago through a Stanford Business School connection. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, the MEA online program will actually start up in February, late February. And so if you want to learn more about it, I think the best thing to do, if you are not already reading my Wisdom Wells every day, I write a Wisdom Well post each day and have some guest bloggers as well. Just go to the Wisdom Well and we'll be talking about it there. So it's on the MEA website, it's the blog. So thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. It really was good. I also went through that program. Jane, I'm just going to call on you. Jane Sunu. Can you share with us what you're most excited about for 2021?
I can't believe you're calling on me.
You're sitting in the bottom corner of my screen, and I thought you'd.
Well, so I'm really excited about it. So this past year, every year I have this ritual as we pass into a new year. I like to reflect on what had happened in the year before. And I usually have little entries in my journal, which are not narratives at all. They're just little phrases or a sentence or two. And usually it's about something that has had some resolution and something that I wanted to remember and reflect on at some later date. And so when I came to this New Year's Eve, I opened my journal and there were no entries because nothing really had resolved, actually. And it really made me think about the highlights and the lowlights of this year. And I had to say that this community and this platform was really such a highlight for me. It really brought to light the demonstration of making the invisible visible. So all the things that really are important in life are really not the things or the pursuits in work or all the things that you can count. It was really sort of these very hard to describe thoughts and feelings that having this platform to share really was so meaningful to me. I do work in healthcare, and I'm a physician who takes care of those who are affected by COVID and their families.
Wow.
And so I found that being the anchor was more difficult this past year. And this platform every 2 weeks gave me something that fed something else and allowed me to pass that calm and continued courage onto those that I accompany in their life and their journey. So I really...
Oh my God, that was so gorgeous, Jane. Dr. Jane.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. This was so invaluable to me, and the feeling of solidarity was really just so unexpected, and I learned so much, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
Wow.
You called on me.
David, I feel terrible that we're actually shutting this down. Oh my gosh.
There was something about you. I knew I had to call on her.
Yes, you got the
intuition.
Pattern recognition. You know it.
Wow.
Well, I think we need, that's maybe a great way to wrap. First of all, I just want to say an enormous thank you to Laura. Laura did all of this for free. She doesn't get paid to do this. And she has done it with such grace and joy. And it's been a real pleasure to work with you. And on David's side, there's been, and we also have Neil, who has done a lot of our marketing, who's based in Berlin and not on the call. And Anne-Marie on David and the Ageist side, thank you so much for all of your inspiration and helping us make this happen. And David, just, we started by saying, let's do car talk for people our age. Sort of, I think the car talk days are sort of our age, but let's do car talk just sort of like, you're different than I am. We're both weirdos, and let's just have a free range conversation. And that's what we've done. And I just want to say thank you for being my partner along this way.
I thank you for, doing this with me, Chip. I don't know what I was expecting when I suggested this. I was not expecting 18 sessions with these amazing people. I was not expecting affecting Jane the way that we did. And I think that's, it's been a really wonderful thing. I've really, really enjoyed these, and that, that we've been useful and we've been helpful to people. And hopefully, our job was, we just wanted people to have fun. Like, come on, like, take it easy.
Happy hour.
It turns out we've been useful. So that's even better.
Wow. Well, and thank you to all of you for just showing up every other week. And sometimes we faked you out in terms of not showing up. We didn't have something that week. And, we did our best to try to stay on schedule. But, this was a real... when you have moments that are unexpected, and this has been a lot of moments, 18 hours of moments of unexpectedness, it is what allows you to say that your God is serendipity. And we've had a lot of serendipity on this show. So thanks to everybody. I get to go in the garden now and have pizza in the garden, which is what we do here on Thursday nights. So
nice.
Wishing you all the best. Lots of love.
And if anyone wants to watch any or all of these 18 episodes, they are all on the Ageist YouTube channel. So you go to your YouTube, punch in Ageist, Ageist. All of the episodes are there. Full recordings. So, and I've gone back to some of them just to pick up nuggets for work on other stuff, and it's super helpful. So I want to thank Anne-Marie, who was always texting me the questions because I couldn't keep up in the chat box. And I want to thank David for kind of birthing the idea, and then Chip saying, yes, let's do this. So I'm going to miss this.
Yes.
Happy 2021.
Yes. Lots of love to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye.